So most of you by now know that I am a hairdresser, but what a lot of you may not know is that the mother of my children is a hairdresser herself. She was doing some client's hair and she texted me randomly asking me if I had seen Island of Death. I knew this did not come from her, so I was like, oh, someone's trying to stump me. Someone's trying to say a movie I haven't seen, and they were right. I had not seen this movie. I had heard of it. I know that this was inspired by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that the director thought, well, that movie's, over the top and this and that, but if I make a movie that's even more extreme, even more violent, then it'll make even more money because that movie made money. Because that's totally how films work. Just take a film and then just make it even more, and then you just make more money. That's exactly how that stuff works. Anyway, but yeah, so her clients asked her if I'd seen this, and she texted me, and I said no. And it was on Amazon Prime, so I threw it on. So this one's for Jason and Maria. Thank you for checking out the channel and supporting it, and supporting Jen as well. So yeah, now I can definitely understand why someone would think I would like this film if they watch my videos. This movie has a ton of sex and a ton of nudity. Yeah, A+ things I definitely enjoy in film. The big problem with this film is how fucking repetitive it is. It is so damn fucking repetitive. It was driving me insane. I checked the runtime of this movie like 6-7 times. I was just getting so bored towards the end because it's just the same thing over and over again. There's this couple and they go to Greece and they're supposedly on vacation, but then they're having sex in all these wild places, and they start demonizing people who they consider to be perverts. Well, mostly the guy. And so they start murdering these people in the eyes of God. Like, they use that as their reasoning for what they're doing. They don't get overly preachy with religious stuff, but that is what they're using to validate themselves. But they're really just perverts themselves, and I don't know if this is just a way to mask that. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so I was pretty into it in the first 20 minutes or so because it was so ludicrous, and it was kind of, there were some scenes that were definitely had me laughing out loud. The opening song of this has lyrics like, if the world is round, then our love will never die. Well, I mean, if you ask some people today, then I guess your love's gonna die. So, yeah. You can ask Jen next time you see her to ask her if you should ever get me started about flat earthers. The flat earth movement, please die. Please. God, those people. Anyway, so I wrote a bunch of random shit down here that doesn't apply. I thought it was going to be funny, but now I'm just like, okay. So I'm trying to filter through my nose really quick. So the funny scene, the scene that got me in this, where I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, is the couple goes into a glass phone booth, a completely transparent phone booth. And the guy's like, I'm going to call my mother, and I'm going to fuck you in this telephone booth right here in broad daylight, and I'm going to let her listen to me fucking you. And she's like, you won't do it, you won't do it. And so he calls his mother, and he fucks her inside this telephone booth during broad daylight and lets her mother listen to it. And her mom's like, you're sick, and you're not actually doing that, and this and that. That was hilarious. And so I just didn't know what to expect at that point. I didn't look up anything on this movie. So I was just like, okay, this is super fucking random and hilarious. Then it goes to the next scene, which is him waking up, wanting to fuck his girlfriend or wife, whatever the hell she is. She ends up being his sister at the end. Spoilers. You know I'm talking spoilers here. And this isn't a film that I would recommend to many people. But yeah, he wakes up, he wants to fuck his wife, she's not into it, she's like, it's too early. Sounds like a common line from me. Um, and so he decides to go out and grab a lamb, fuck the lamb, and then murder it. That scene was hilarious. It was so fucking stupid and just gross and funny, and I don't know. That's the kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm getting this. It's ridiculously over the top, but then they just decide to start murdering people, and it's the same thing over and over again. Like they murder a gay couple, and it's just like he's taking pictures of these guys, and then they go down and they murder them. And then there's women who they think are lesbians, and then he has the woman seduce the other woman, and then he likes to take pictures of it. But once they get into it too much, then he's like, pervert, and he goes over and he kills him. And then she seduces a guy. This actually happens before any of this, but she seduces a guy with paint. They're like painting, and she's like doing this, and she like paints on his crotch. And then they go fuck in a field, and he's like taking pictures of it, and he's all into it until he sees that she's really into it. And then he gets jealous and calls him a pervert, and then goes over and kills him by drowning him in paint, after crucifying him on the ground with nails. And let's see, I'm not even sticking to any of my notes here. And then they go and they masturbate to the photos of the kills that they've done together. But she's not really into it. Like, you can tell he's been manipulating her for a long, long time, and like she's kind of into it, but not really into it, and she keeps trying to get him away from it, but he can't give it up. And how many fucking pictures does this camera have? I mean, this is like real photographs, and so it has to use film. The thing is like, it's like he holds the fucking camera button and it just takes photos over and over and over again. It's like, how many, I mean, I might be, I don't know anything about those kinds of cameras, but Jesus, how many fucking pictures does that thing hold? Let's see, yeah, we're gonna punish the perverted. And the guy that they drag behind the plane. Now, this definitely would not fly today. They grab a black man after calling him the N-word somewhere earlier in the movie, and then put a noose around his neck and hang him from a flying plane. That scene was pretty hilarious because they're flying and it's so clearly a dummy that's just taped to the side of this plane, and then he's running next to the plane before it takes off for a while, and then he grabs onto the wing as it's taking off. But it's like, why can't he take this noose off his neck? He's standing up and he's running and he's holding the thing, and it's not taut. Like, it's not tight against his neck. Just loosen it, take it off. And when he's on the plane wing, he even has his arms so he could just be like, and then just let go of the plane. I can't even begin to come up with a reason why he cannot take this rope around off of his neck. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's common. It's like common horror movie bullshit. But it's so it's like baffling to my mind that these scenes even get shot. But that's not what they're trying to do here. This is a total shock film. Anyway, this is stupid. And then there is an old woman who that he goes and seduces, and she shows her very saggy boobs and her vagina, and then he takes a piss on her, and he thinks this is going to piss her off and enrage her, but all it does is make her really happy and excited, and then she starts biting his dick. And then he decides to slap her around, knock her out, and then go use a bulldozer to decapitate her. Explaining this film is way more enjoyable than it was, honestly. It sounds like, oh wow, this sounds totally up your alley. So I totally understand why people would think that I would enjoy this. But as I said, my problem is that the scene, it was just too repetitive. There wasn't anything interesting going on in the film for me. You know, like, okay, let me reword that. There's interesting things going on, obviously. I've said the interesting things. But the way they're handled, the way the characters are, like the guy and the woman, this is like a wannabe natural born killers before natural born killers obviously existed. But Mickey and Mallory Knox are really interesting characters. They have great dialogue. There's such like artistry going on in the film to keep your eyes, really active and into the film and whatnot. There's lots going on in Natural Born Killers. It's a very different film, but what I'm trying to say is like you can have characters like that do tons of kills in a film and make it really fun while keeping it completely insane. I mean, Natural Born Killers is fucking insane, but it's an extremely enjoyable film. This one is very tedious because of its repetition. All right, anyways, as I'm sitting here being repetitious and redundant. Anyway, yeah, I already said that they masturbated. They masturbated. What the fuck? All right. Oh man, the old woman before she keeps like flicking her tongue. She does it so many times. Just keeps coming back and she's like playing with her tits and they keep showing her bush and they keep oh, that was probably the grossest part of the whole goddamn movie. Now, later, there's some guys who just rape. I love how in movies, like older movies, exploitation movies, like men are just rapists. 70s exploitation and Lifetime movies, all men are rapists. God, it's so annoying. But anyway, so these guys try to rape her. Why they would try to rape her in a bathtub filled with water? I mean, has anyone ever tried to have sex in water? It's awful. Okay? Anyone who's ever tried to have sex in water has tried it one time and they were like fucking 18, 17, somewhere in that area where you're like, this could be awesome, man. Pussies need to be wet and this is wet. This could be awesome. And it's like, no, it's not awesome. Okay? It's not awesome at all. It's exactly the opposite of what you think it's going to be. Anyway, enough of talking about that. But yeah, those guys, they definitely need to die. I think that a harpoon little gun there, though, that would have to penetrate deeper than like this. Like this to kill the guy. It's seriously, you can still see the freaking like, it's like a little tri-hook thing and you can still see the arms. The arms on the things are like this long and you can still see in between the arms. It's like in this deep. It's hilarious. That's about how deep you can get in when you're having sex in water. There you go. So, a little freaking metaphor there. Yeah, I mean, the film has tons of nudity, and a lot of the women, besides the old woman, have bodies that you definitely want to see naked. But it actually bored me. I was actually wanting to fast forward through sex scenes. I wanted to fast forward through sex scenes and tits. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, these guys are total hypocrites. And then we get to the end, and this guy... Oh, there's a convenient scythe that's just hanging up there. But they're all farmers and gardeners, so I guess it's not too convenient. But then they get to this guy at the end. And this guy at the end decides to rape the woman. And then when the brother, who we find out later, tries to help her, he knocks that guy out and rapes him in front of her, and she's all about it. And then he picks him up and he throws him in a huge pile of lime. And then the guy's sitting there screaming, "Help me, help me." And she comes out and is like, "Nah." And he's like, "You're my sister," or something. And he's like, you promised you'd never tell," which is the big reveal. And it's no Empire Strikes Back lineage moment, let me tell you. And then she just goes off with the freaking dude who she starts to hump him. As I said, she's like taking off her clothes yet again for like the 80th time in this film. And as I said, she's got a beautiful body. But it was just like, fuck again. Jesus Christ. Okay. And she just humps this guy while the guy sits outside, the other guy, her brother, sits outside and is burned to death by the water falling on him because he's sitting in the line. And that's the end. Like, and it just says the end. And then it's like it. The ending is ridiculous. I love that this guy who doesn't speak a word, he's just like a fucking Neanderthal, and he's just like, I'm just gonna rape everybody. I'm just gonna rape this guy in front of you, and she's just into it, and then they're just like happily ever after, fucking Buttercup and Wesley, just living on the little farm there, as you wish, as he's just fucking plowing into her boyfriend. Oh my god, that ending was pretty hilarious. But yeah, so anyways, Jason, Maria, thank you for the thing. I will always give you my honest opinion. There was definitely things I enjoyed about the movie. Overly, I found myself to be pretty bored. But you know what? It's definitely a movie that I won't forget. It's definitely a movie that I will bring up in later conversations. Like, do you ever see this one? You ever see a guy like rape a lamb and then fucking cut its throat and, you know, fucking die? Like, there's lots of scenes in this that I'm going to be bringing up, you know, for years to come. I mean, it's kind of like one of these movies like Salo, the 120 Days of Sodom, or Serbian Film, or any of these shock films. But a lot of shock films are just, you know, just boring. Like, you've seen it a million times. There's certain things in this movie that I've never seen. The phone booth scene, for sure, is my favorite scene. Just, I don't know, because I didn't know what this movie was going to be. I didn't know these characters at all. I didn't read anything. Just them calling the mom and fucking, and then finding out later that they're brother and sister, and then realizing like the mom's like, you're sick, like, you know, your fucking your son and your daughter are calling you and fucking in a payphone booth. That's pretty funny, dude. So that scene alone, I'm glad I watched this. I'm glad I get to talk about this film for years to come. So anyway, so thank you for the recommendation. I know you're sitting here like, oh my god, we wasted his time. We got to apologize. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, I've sat through way worse than this, as I'm sure you know. But anyway, guys, all right.